الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, teach us what would benefit us and help us benefit from what we learn and increase us in knowledge. Ameen ya Rabb al-Alameen. This is a session on empowering children to listen. But really, you're going to take so much more from this session. Inshallah, you are personally going to learn some skills, some tools. You're going to have a proper mindset to be able to educate your children for the world that they're meant to be in. And then, inshallah, we're going to talk about the real skills that don't come naturally, but many of us think that it should come naturally. So we don't even teach it to our children. But you will see how once you teach these skills, how the change is going to be immediate. The kids will just get it and start applying it in your life. And it's going to be so rewarding, inshallah. And also, I wanted to announce a gift, inshallah, for those who stick it till the end of the video. And inshallah, one of you is going to be winning big time, inshallah. And inshallah, all the others are not going to go empty-handed either, inshallah. So that more on that at the end of the video, but let's get started. Now, first of all, I would like to start by mentioning my own journey as a first-time mother and being a preschool teacher. So when I was a teacher, basically I did teach all age groups, but I taught preschoolers the longest. And I was not allowed to touch them or yell at them, be upset with them, or use any cross words, use any upset language with them. And being in that environment where your hands are tied, like you can't really abuse children, then it forces you to get creative. It forces you to learn tools, to know that what makes children listen to you. Then you start learning more and more tools to apply that. And alhamdulillah, I have never had any complaint of any parent ever complaining, or any child ever complaining. You know, in our school, we had this open window system. Through that open window, anybody could look in. And basically, the teacher was on surveillance 24/7, as long as she was with kids. So she was under observation whether she's behaving aggressive or angry in any way. So alhamdulillah, being in that environment, I thought I was prepared for motherhood. I know the tools, I have succeeded. So I know how to make children listen, and parenting is going to be so much easier. It's my own kid. I would love them unconditionally. Then, when I first held my own child after they were born, this delicate little tiny human being in my arms, I felt love for it more than I could ever imagine. And I made promise to my child that I was going to be the best mother, that everything I had, I'm going to teach that child. I'm going to be so kind and so gentle. And so I made this resolve in my own heart. Then the reality hit. And I found out it was so different than being a teacher. I only have to put up a brave face for certain hours and then I would have breaks as well between periods, like after 2 hours I'm going to have a break. However, being with children, you are there 24/7, and you are tired, you're hormonal, and then on top of that, children start growing and becoming defiant. They start saying no to everything. Like at a certain age, no becomes their favorite word. So the reality hit, and I found myself, to my embarrassment, behaving in a way that was so unbecoming of me. And I started thinking to myself, what happened to all that training that I had as a teacher? Like, where did all that go? And like, who is this person? I started like, I have never known myself to be able to raise my voice But subhanAllah, that did happen after having children. So I was like, okay, who is this person? It's not me. This is not possible. It's not happening. But subhanAllah, this is the reality of the situation. Parenting is so demanding, like not, like no other job in the world, like nothing else in the world. So I was like, okay, the reality hit. Okay, what's happening? Obviously, I needed to change something. And when I was analyzing, okay, what's happening? Why am I being loud? Why am I behaving in a way that like maybe picking my child up and putting them somewhere like with anger? So things like that. And I was like, okay, what's happening? Then I started blaming the tiredness, the no help, the hormones, things like that, things that are out of my control. And I started justifying, okay, as a parent, I don't have a break. So it's okay for me to yell at my kids once in a while. Like I'm a mother, I love them like nobody else can. So why can't I yell at them occasionally? Right. A sister is asking, can my husband listen in or do you want us to use headphones? Yes, please use headphones. All right. So, sisters, here I've written there, anger is natural, but how you express it is your choice. So I'm not against feeling the feelings, but I'm against how but you have to be responsible for how you express that feeling. So then what happened is I started blaming. Then the realization hit me. And what was the realization? That children feel the effects of yelling, neglect, or harshness, regardless of our intent. It doesn't matter to them. I could see the effects, so it doesn't matter to them. Like I love them more than anybody else can ever love them. But at the same time, if I'm harsh to them, then that doesn't like the effects of it. Their body will feel the effects. For example, if my husband, alhamdulillah, he's not like that. But for example, I'm just giving you an example. For example, if your husband is on the phone the whole time, neglecting your children, and you are overwhelmed with all the responsibilities, so you are neglecting your children's needs as well. The child will feel neglected. The child will feel disconnected. It doesn't matter what's the reason or what's happening around them. If they are feeling disconnected, they're going to act out. If they're feeling ignored, they're going to develop some traumas of their own. So a child's nervous system doesn't distinguish between I didn't mean it and I meant it. It doesn't matter to them. The effects are the same on them, on their nervous system. And I also realized that nobody is perfect. We all grow up with our own unique sets of traumas. And that is no excuse to treat your child any different. That as an adult, I cannot blame everything else around me for my own actions. That after a certain point, that once I'm grown up, once I'm an adult, I am actually responsible for my own reactions, for how I act in a certain situation, for how basically for how I choose to act. Because feelings are natural. You are going to get angry, you are going to get frustrated, but you have many choices. And what you choose, if you choose to yell at your child, you need to take ownership of that. If you keep blaming it on circumstances, on traumas, then you're never going to be able to change. So take ownership of your own flaws, of your own setbacks. And then, inshallah, you're going to be at the place of changing, inshallah. And inshallah, I'm going to give you tools, inshallah. Another thing is, so that is the realization also was in my journey. Then the last step was research. And I'm currently in that stage still, alhamdulillah, every day I do more and more research. And I have seen so many parenting systems, Islamic and Western. And inshallah, alhamdulillah, even through that research, in the beginning of the research, alhamdulillah, I also compiled a book called The Parenting Tools in the Light of Quran and Sunnah, and Authentic Sunnah. And that was me going through all the Nabawi Ahadith on Tarbiyah, compiling them, trying to make a concise version of it. So basically, first of all and foremost, for my own guidance, for my own knowledge, to know how the Prophet ﷺ would act in certain situations. You're going to find all of those examples in this book, inshallah. And also, I've researched many Western systems. So essentially, all the parenting systems have these three components. These three components. What are those components? These components are, first of all, connection. And the second of it is structure. And the third is the consequences. If any of these is missing, then the parenting is going to be incomplete and the child is going to take advantage of that, or child is going to start misbehaving. Now, ladies, out of all of that, consequences is the one that gets abused a lot. Either we don't give consequences at all for when the consequences need to be given, or we are too harsh in our consequences, leading our children to develop some disconnect from us, some traumas, and things like that. So there are parenting systems based on a lot of connection, but if a parenting system fails to give reliable consequences, justified consequences, kind consequences, if a parenting system is not able to answer the question, okay, what if the child chooses to ignore? What can I do then? If a child is defiant, if he wants to test boundaries, then what do I do? Like, what is the what if? Like what if the child misbehaves and does not listen, is defiant? What are the consequences? If a parenting system does not answer the consequences question, that means it's incomplete. And trust me, I have tried my best to parent my children with kindness, with no consequences whatsoever. I've tried so many systems of reward and so many systems of praise and encouragement and internal intrinsic motivation. All of that is good. It does work. Alhamdulillah, it does work. Most of the time it works. But what happens when one child decides to test the boundaries and it doesn't work? One child decides to be mean and the system no longer works. They're not motivated by rewards now. They're motivated by testing how far they can take this. They want to feel the power. Okay, I'm going to do this. Let's see what mama can do. And if you don't have reliable, justified consequences in place, then it's not going to work. And I wrote here, the key point of this slide is you'll never be truly happy if you let everything around you control how you feel and how you react. Basically, blaming everything for your own actions, not taking ownership. So now this system, this parenting system I'm going to be introducing to you is called the self-management. And it comes from the hadith, كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. Basically, it is the self-accountability, taking the ownership. It's called إدارة النفس in Arabic. Self-management, إدارة النفس. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول. Each of you is going to be responsible. كلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. We are all responsible. We need to take ownership of what we do and how it impacts people around us. So self-accountability is going to be, we are going to learn this ourselves, and then we're going to teach it to our kids as well. And once they start taking the accountability, once they start learning that, trust me, it's going to be a game changer, inshallah. Now, how do you know if you're modeling good self-management or not, good self-accountability or not? And these are questions for yourself. You can do it in your journal, you can answer them wherever you like. So do you give in to your impulses all the time? Like, you feel like yelling, so you yell. Do you feel like being upset and ignoring? Do you feel like lashing out? Do you feel like maybe hurting your child? Do you give in to your impulses? That means you're not modeling self-regulation. You're not modeling self-accountability. You're not owning your own actions. Another thing is, do you nag about chores, then expect your children to do it happily? If you're nagging about your responsibilities, then the kids are going to develop this naggy attitude as well. They're going to start hating the chores and responsibilities as well. So what is your attitude toward the responsibilities? Do you take the responsibilities happily? Now, you don't really have to be happy about having to do all of the things that you need to do, but you have to be self-regulated enough, self-accountable enough, self-motivated, what is it called? Self-accountable enough to choose to have a positive attitude about it. You can choose to be miserable about it, or you can choose to have a better attitude about it. And the attitude you're going to have with your responsibilities, the kids are going to, inshallah, mimic that as well. So, for example, do you feel homework time is a burden? So when it's your children's homework time, and do you approach it as a burden? And we have to do homework, and then expect them to do it willingly. So these are just some of the questions to let you know how good, like how much you're modeling the self-management, self-accountability. So then the last question for you is, what areas of self-management do you need to work on that your children are struggling with too? So what are your children's struggles? And for example, they struggle with doing chores. They struggle with doing chores by themselves. So think of your own attitude towards chores. Do you always complain about how tired you are when you do all the things, when you're cooking and cleaning, and how tired you are? Do you complain about that a lot? So if you do, then then inshallah that needs to change. I have a question or a comment. Please type her reply for me too. I don't understand what this is in reference to. All right. So essentially, we need to model self-accountability to all children to, inshallah, follow us. Now, ladies, I need you to answer this question honestly. Have you accepted being a parent yet? Now, I know some of you would be like, okay, what kind of question is that? I do have a child. I take care of my child. I wake up at night. What do you mean, have you accepted? Of course, I've accepted being a parent. But let's analyze that. Let's answer that. Okay. Let's analyze that. Do you feel these as a parent? These are the poll questions that I sent in the group. And the questions were, parenting feels like a heavy burden, and I sometimes wish I could escape. And so many parents could relate to that, that the parenting feels heavy, burden, and they want to escape. And I depend on school or madrasas to teach my child. I'm not cut out for teaching. So a lot of parents feel that way as well. Because I'm not structured or disciplined myself, I don't set routines, rules, boundaries at home. A lot of parents feel that way as well. I get irritated easily when my child asks endless questions or needs constant attention. I expect my child to just know certain common sense things. It's common sense. Why are you asking me where the cups are? You should know by now. And it frustrates me when they don't. I don't want my child to learn by copying me. I don't want the pressure of being the role model. Many sisters feel this way as well. Ladies, these are all answers from real-time parents. And let me see what that indicate. What is the meaning of those poll questions or poll options? Means that parenting, once you become a parent, it is natural that in the beginning you feel like a burden, like they're a heavy burden and you want to escape. In the beginning, that is common because you're hit with the reality of how overwhelming it can get, the lack of sleep and the demands, it wears you down. So then you start grieving the loss of independence. So it's okay to have some sense of resistance in the beginning, some feeling of heavy burden in the beginning. But if you still feel like that after 5, 10 years of being a parent, then I will tell you what that means in a minute. Another thing is, what it indicates, the other poll questions indicate, is that why can't my child just know this already? Why do they need me all the time? What does this mean? This means that you are expecting adult-like behavior from a child. And then the signs of that is you get angry at their questions, disappointed when the child just doesn't know, and you feel like stressed. Another thing is avoidance. So it could feel like these thoughts could be in your head: I'm not cut out for teaching, and schools and madrasas will handle it. So basically, fearing inadequacy, like I'm not enough for my child. And then you are more happy to hand the responsibility to teachers and circumstances and things like that. Then there is also partial acceptance, where you know you need to model, but it's too much pressure. So basically, core issues struggle with self-discipline and self-image. Ladies, all of these indicate, all of these symptoms, all of these, the avoidance, the partial acceptance, the resistance, the frustration, all of these mean that you have yet not taken full ownership of your responsibility as a parent. Like, you've not fully accepted that you are still, like, some part of your body, subconscious mind, is fighting against the full ownership, full responsibility of being a parent. Even though consciously you don't know, consciously you know that, okay, this is my child, this is my responsibility, I want to be a good mother, all of that, you know that consciously. But subconsciously, there is a struggle happening. There is some fight, internal fight inside of you that is not allowing you to fully accept and own the responsibility. Could be the grieving of loss of independence, or like could be impatience that you don't really want to teach them over and over, like the child should know, like, ugh, why do I need to teach them all the time, and it's too much. It's because you've not accepted your role as a parent. You are essentially a teacher for your child. That's your first and foremost role. Let's see how full ownership looks like. Full ownership of your role as a parent, as a mother, looks like accepting that my child will need me. They will ask me questions, attention. They will need me for emotional regulation. That is okay. Accepting it fully, owning it, accepting it as part of life. So when that shows up, you don't fight against it. You're like, you welcome it. Oh yeah, okay, this is being a parent, is to answer their endless questions. And inshallah, I will tell you, if the questions are wearing you down, you can always say something like, "Oh, we've already discussed this before." So you could use a strategy: asked and answered. Like, you already asked this, and we have already answered this. So, for example, that's when they're insisting on something. But essentially, you own it, so you don't neglect them. You don't shut them down. You don't reject them. Another way to know that you've had full ownership of your parenting is that you accept your child. You accept that your child is not born knowing things, that they need teaching, repetition, and modeling. And you accept that you are the role model, whether you like it or not, that children will copy you. So the parents who don't want to be role models, basically, they want to keep enjoying their life the way it is. They want to be able to enjoy, for example, um, the rule for their children is to not have too much sugar or not have too much screen time. But the parents don't want to be the role model because they themselves don't want to follow those rules. They want to be able to enjoy as much sugar as they like. They want to be able to enjoy screen time as much as they want. So then there is this feeling of, I want to enjoy my life, but I don't want to model it for my children. No, but that means you've not fully accepted your role as a parent. As a parent, it means that you are a role model, whether you like it or not. So owning it means making the hard decisions. right? Also accepting the routines, structures, and guidance must first come from me, not just school or madrasas. They need to first come from me, myself. So I need to learn. And accepting that parenting is a long-term amana from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not something we can escape from when it feels heavy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. That Allah is never going to burden a soul beyond what they can bear. So you can bear this. That you are able to, if you put your mind to it. So now is the question of, are you ready to fully take the ownership of your parenting? As long as you fight against parenting, subconsciously or consciously, you won't find the joy in it, the happiness in it. It won't be the coolness of your eyes. But once you fully accept it with all its challenges, you're going to start enjoying your children. You're going to start enjoying parenting, bi'idhnillah. A sister says on YouTube, Jazakallah khair sister, as mother, I love parenting videos, especially your videos. Barakallahu fiki. May Allah make it beneficial for everybody. Me first and foremost, and everybody else, inshallah. May Allah make it sadaqah jariyah for me and everyone else, inshallah. Right. Now, let's talk about the key components in all the parenting structures, all the parenting strategies. So I said the components were the connection, the structure, and the consequences. Let's talk about these. So the connection, let's do an activity together for the connection. Sisters, get your pen and paper ready, and inshallah, let's do this activity together. Let me know when it's ready. So the first is, what is the tone of your house? This is the first question. What is the tone of your house right now? What is the tone of your house? Is the tone of your house like bickering? Is it fighting? Is it shouting? Is your house like, if some stranger came and lived with you, what would they notice? That your house is very loud. Is it very loud? Or is the tone of your house like calm? Is the tone of your house, every house has a tone. What is the tone of your house? What is the parental environment? What's the environment like in your house? For example, if a child falls down, what would others do? Would they mind their own business? Or would the other kids come running and try to help that child? Is the tone caring? Is the tone of your house religious, where everybody is working to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where every incident is linked to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's infinite wisdom, and everybody trusts in Allah's divine wisdom, and they accept the qadr. So what is the tone of your house like? I want you to write down some key words, some key things a stranger might explain your house like. So what is the tone? How does it feel? Is it calm? Or is it a lot of fighting and bickering and anger and shouting? Is it neglect, that nobody cares about the other person? Yes, there's no fighting, but there's no connection either. So it's like really cold. Everybody's minding their own business. Well, everybody's doing their own responsibilities. What is the tone of your house like? What unites you as a family? And so are you all working towards one goal? For example, you are all maybe working towards serving people around you that are in poverty, for example. Or you're all working as soldiers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, focused on da'wah. Like everybody in the house is more focused on the da'wah because that's the environment. Or is everybody just focused on Quran, memorizing, listening, helping each other? What is the environment of your house like? What is the tone of your house like? Write it down. What's the goal you're working towards? I've written some key phrases here to help you to analyze your house. Is the tone loving? Is there love in the house? Like, can everybody feel loved? Maybe through random acts of kindness, random acts of like generosity, random acts of service. Is the tone of your house acceptance? Acceptance that nobody is perfect, that everybody has their own issues. Everybody has mistakes. What does that mean? And how does it look like? So I've heard a very good explanation of acceptance is as a GPS. You know how GPS, when you put a location in it, then you make a mistake or take a different route. The GPS never scolds you, never tells you, never shames you. What does it do? What does the GPS do when you don't follow the route it gave you? What does the GPS do? It gives you a different route. This is how we should deal with mistakes. Your own mistakes, your kids' mistakes. You should just accept that it happened and mistakes are part of like human, and you move on. And also trust. What does trust look like? Trust looks like you telling your children that I know, I trust you, that you are going to be, that you are able to control your anger. That I know it's hard, but I trust you to be able to control your actions, and I'm going to help you with that. So radiating trust that I know you'll be able to do it. And then also like the tone of patience and calmness, you can analyze that and write it down. Now, next question, sisters. What do you want the tone of your house to be? Is what you wrote exactly what you want? Or would you like certain elements that are missing? Some key elements that are really important to you that are missing from your house. If they're missing, like calmness, like being religious, more religiosity. If those are missing, please write it down. Now, let's analyze. Is what you're doing, what you're already doing, leading to the tone of the house that you want? And if it's not contributing to that, that means you need to make that priority. That means that you need to find out the steps to take so that the tone of your house could be what you actually want it to be. All right, so the first was the connection. And under it came the tone of your house and feeling all connected and calm together, inshallah. The next component is the structure. Now, we all know that children thrive in structure. Children thrive in structure. But structure without consistency means nothing. You have to find a structure. Ladies, not having a structure is really, it makes kids anxious. Having predictable structure, even though sometimes it might, for example, you've set the bedtime to be 8 o'clock, everybody knows it. Sometimes you might get your children to bed by 9 o'clock. You couldn't do it by 8 o'clock. But still, there was consistency that every day, 8 o'clock, you're expected to go to bed. So there's that's a structure part. The more structure there is, the more predictability there is, the more children thrive, bi'idhnillah. Now, there are a lot of elements to structure, and first of all is pre-teaching skills. Pre-teaching skills, everybody knows their responsibility. Everybody knows what's going to happen if they don't hold up their end of the bargain. In other words, what are going to be the consequences? So everybody knows how they're expected to act. You teach them, you rehearse with them, and you execute it with them. And then sometimes they would need to be corrected. So then, and the steps of correction I will tell you, inshallah. And then there needs to be some meetings so that the kids can get off whatever is in their chest. So basically meetings that are more connecting times together. All right, let's take them one by one. So what does pre-teaching skills look like? So pre-teaching skills look like, and I'm inshallah going to tell you all the skills. If you teach those skills to your children, ladies, I am sure that most of the behavioral problems would go away. inshallah, most of them would go away. And it is the behavior problems that wear parents down anyway. After all, parents are more resilient if their child doesn't do their homework because he doesn't know it. If there's an inability, then the parents are more relaxed. But if it's defiance, and if it's like, oh, I don't want to do it, if there's a laziness problem, attitude problem, if there's a defiance problem, then that is when the battles happen. So if you teach your children these structures, then inshallah you will see that all the behavioral problems start melting away. Inshallah. And how do you pre-teach that? I will inshallah teach you step by step. And how do you rehearse that? So once you teach them, this is the skill we're going to be learning. And so, for example, let's take the first skill that I'm going to be teaching you. So the first skill is listening to instructions. So the steps to listening to instructions, you're going to pre-teach them. So pre-teach the skill to listen to the instructions. So what are the steps to listening to instruction? Let me tell you a story of my 2 years old. I was making breakfast. He woke up and came down, and I told him, baby, I want you to go to the toilet, because he's toilet trained or in the process. So we don't want accidents to happen. So I said, baby, I want you to go to the toilet. He's very calmly, he said, no. So then the next thing I did, I pre-taught him the skill. And I said, okay, now listen, Mama's going to give you an instruction. And here are the steps to following instruction. The number one step is you're going to look at Mama, you're going to say, okay, Mama. The number 2 step is to quickly go and do it. And number 3 step is come back to me and say, Mama, I did it. Now, I know it might seem a lot for a 3-year-old to get it, for a 2-year-old to get it, but trust me, like even one day of practice and they got it. So then I said, okay, now I'm going to give you an instruction. So what are the steps? You're going to say, okay, Mama, you're going to quickly do it. You're going to come back and tell me, Mama, I did it. So he said, so then I said, I'm going to give you instruction now. Your instruction is go to the toilet. Then he looked at me, he said, okay, Mama. He quickly went, he did it. And then he forgot to tell me that he did it. So I told him, okay, what's the 3rd step? You quickly went to the toilet. Here are the 3 steps. You say, okay, Mama, you quickly go to the toilet. And then you come back and you say, I did it. You did the first step. You went to the toilet. And you quickly, you said, okay, Mama, you went to the toilet. What's the 3rd step? So he told me, oh, Mama, I did it. So then the 3rd step is the most important one. You know why? Because you can praise them for it. And children need a lot of praise. And when for everything negative or for every instruction, if they get a praise for it, that is going to keep them motivated. So then, and the praise can be as simple as, wow, you did it. You followed the instructions so well. Right. So then, like I said, you're going to praise them. You're going to, and the praise can look like this. Wow, you're just going to describe what they did. So you looked at Mama and you said, okay, Mama, you quickly went, and then you came back and you told me you did it. Well done, or wonderful, good effort, or whatever you choose, the word you choose to be. And that is very effective. So a sister is asking, what if they refuse to listen to you in the first place? And that happened later at night. So I gave him instruction again. I said, all right, Mom's going to give you an instruction. What are the steps? I repeated the steps to him. And I told him, baby, now Mama going to give you an instruction. Go to the toilet. And he said, he just looked down and kind of started playing and just completely ignored me. So I said, all right, and right now Mama gave you an instruction and you chose to ignore that instruction. That means Mama was going to help you do that by myself. So I picked him up, and by the time I started doing that, by the time he saw the boundary, he saw that, okay, it's going to happen whether I like it or not. I better do it by myself. So like, okay, he quickly ran to the toilet and did it. And I said, okay, what's the 3rd step? He said, Mama, I did it. So then I praised him for it. I said, well done. Even though you didn't want to go to the toilet, you listened to Mama. You quickly went to the toilet and you did your wee-wee and you came back and you told me that you did it. So then I hugged him And I told him that he did a wonderful job. And alhamdulillah, that worked amazingly well. And ladies, everybody can learn these skills. These are real life skills. Even teenagers can learn it. If you make it a structure in your house, it doesn't have to be that robotic all the time. Ladies, once they practice it, then you can just say, okay, I'm going to give you an instruction now. You don't have to repeat everything. They will know it by heart. So they will just do it. They will know the steps and they will automatically do it. Ladies, we are all programmed anyway. We are all programmed. Most of our actions in our everyday life are controlled by our subconscious mind. We don't make conscious decisions for everything we do in a day. No. A lot of things are subconscious. So then why not program yourself and your children to do the things that are right and like follow your own instructions? For example, if you put an alarm for Fajr, then as soon as the alarm goes off, you get up and you quickly pray without engaging your emotional mind. So see how this get automated, and see how this is so impactful and effective, inshallah. Sister is saying, I want to be your baby. Barakallahu fiki. All right. So pre-teaching skills, right? We're going to learn about more skills, inshallah. The next skill or the next step is to rehearse it with them. Did you see how I rehearsed it with my child ahead of time before I actually gave the instruction? Told him, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to do, and so you could even rehearse it beforehand, like in the meetings, for example. In the meetings, don't make the meetings long so it doesn't become like a lecture sort of thing. Meeting is more of a connection time. But you can choose to do something silly in the meeting, some funny things, but you can also choose to discuss some important matters in the meetings. One of my most cherished memories from my childhood, or actually even my adulthood, my father, may Allah forgive him. Well, I'm saying it as in, how they say Allah yaghfirlah. I didn't want to say Allah yarhamu because he's still alive, alhamdulillah. I don't know what they say. Allah yahfadhu, صح. Allah yahfadhu. My father, Allah yahfadhu, he had this family culture. He cultivated in us the culture of family meetings. And what would happen in the family meeting? He would have an agenda. He would want to talk about anything important, and he would ask us all about our life. Is there anything we are unhappy with? Is there anything we want to change, or anything pertaining the household? Anything we need from each other? Everything could be brought into the meeting, and we used to talk about that. Oh, and my father made it a fun meeting, so he would often bring some special treats in the meeting, so special drinks, some like special he would sometimes get mithai, which is like a sweet. So he would do that for the meeting, and they would happen regularly. So it was a very good thing to have to discuss everything important. So if you get something like that in your family, it's very important. It's very useful, inshallah. So what we are up to: pre-teaching skills, rehearsing, then executing when it's time, and sometimes you need to do the on-spot correction, or sometimes if they just choose to refuse, then you describe what happened, what should have happened. So just now I told you to go to toilet, and you didn't go to toilet. What should have happened is, when Mama told you to go to toilet, you should have quickly gone. You should have said, okay, Mama, quickly go to the toilet and come back and report to me. That should have happened. So the consequence for me, for my 2 years old, obviously, is that I'm going to take him myself. Or for older children, for their defiance, the consequences could be different. And inshallah, we're going to talk about those consequences later. But in short, their consequences the consequences should be explained in advance. And these are the things that can be discussed in meetings. So what are the consequences going to be if a child refuses to listen? And I recommend a consequence to be chores of the house. For example, like my 5 years old, if he refuses to do something, so I will say, okay, now for the consequence, I would have you wipe the table clean, and and then you come and tell me that you've done it. So the child then goes and wipes the table and comes and says, I've done it. So we then circle back to the original instruction again, say, okay, now you need to go to the toilet, for example. And this is what you should do, is what you say, when I tell you, you need to say, okay, mama, quickly do it. Come back and tell me. They come back and tell me, I praise them. Even when they finish their consequence, I praise them again. For that as well, I praise them for immediately complying and doing their consequence calmly and happily. So I praise them for that as well. All right. So, right. Okay. So we are going to come to that. There's another question. What if the child refuses to do the consequences? Yes, that could happen. And inshallah, we're going to discuss that in detail as well in the consequence slide. All right. So the structure and the consequence. So first of all, what you can do is you can do the on-spot behavior correction. The more predictable your reaction is for kids, the more they know in advance what's going to happen, the more effective it is long term. So then you need to decide on the structure. You need to know what consequences you're going to be using ahead of time. So then you don't need to resort to yelling and shouting and hitting or abandoning them in a timeout where they feel rejected. So if I don't behave well, I'm no longer loved and I am rejected. So I don't recommend that at all. So for example, okay, so let's say that let me give you an example for the correction. So this is not a consequence, right? This is a correction. This can happen before a consequence. So for example, if I'm teaching a lesson in my house and a child decides to interrupt, right? So I'm doing my homeschooling session. One of the children is misbehaving. They start to interrupt. They start laughing, pointing at somebody, laughing. So then what I can do is describe what is happening. All right, so I'm teaching my lesson right now, and you have chosen to laugh and interrupt. And what should have happened is that you should have listened to mama, because it's not respectful for me. I am teaching, I'm trying to make it fun for you. It's not respectful for your brothers, because now they want to listen. But because you are making sounds and making noises, they're not able to focus either. So I will inshallah give you a break to, like, in 5 minutes. For younger kids, I don't even keep homeschooling that long anyway. The explanation sessions need to be small. Anyway, so in 5 minutes, we're going to have a break anyway. You can talk. You can do whatever you like in that break. But right now, the respectful thing to do is to listen quietly. Are you ready? And once we start the lesson again, I'm going to move on, and I'm not going to be thinking about it. And I suggest you move on as well. You don't think about it as well in your head. So this is another skill of letting it go. So that I don't want the child to keep feeling bad about being corrected. I don't want them to feel thinking about what they did. I want them to now, let's move on and focus. So I say then, okay, we're going to say, okay, I'm going to move on and I'm going to continue teaching. And the child will say, okay, so we move on, and I praise them as soon as they see improvement. So this is one step before correction, before the consequence. So it's on-spot behavior correction. Now let's go to consequences. Now it's important that the consequences are done with connection. It's important that consequences are carried with connection. Otherwise, they just feel like harsh punishments. And it's also important that your children know ahead of time what consequences can be applied. So the elements of the consequence now is sometimes the consequences can be, or these are the options of consequence. Sometimes the consequences can be natural. So what is a natural consequence? For example, you told your child that it is rainy outside, and if they wear a certain shoe, they might slip a lot. It has no grip. So you told them to wear a different shoe. They chose to ignore your instruction. They chose to ignore your command. Then the natural consequence is you take them outside, they're falling a lot. Well, that is a natural consequence. You don't really have to do anything. Their choice doesn't really impact you a whole lot. That's fine. Let them experience the natural consequence. But then, what if, in the earlier example, the sister said, okay, what if you give your child a consequence and they even choose to ignore the consequence, which is a chore. So you give them a chore and they choose to ignore that chore. So then the third step could be, and also it could be, and this needs to be discussed ahead of time, not on the spot. It's ideal to do in the meetings. And that is, you're going to explain to them how things work in real world. That privileges only come with what? With responsibilities. Privileges only come with responsibilities. You tell them their basic rights are food, clothing, shelter, love, and safety. And ladies, never take that away from your children in any circumstance. And no matter how horribly they're behaving, do not take away the basic rights: the food, clothing, shelter, love, and safety. However, you can take away their privileges if they're not doing the responsibilities. And what are the things that can be used what are the things that are privileges? Ladies, please tell me some of the examples of the privileges that can be taken away if they're misbehaving. All right, sister says devices. What else? Going out to restaurants, bicycle, iPad. Well done, ladies. Already you're bringing me all the privileges. Well done. What are more common privileges, everyday privileges that the children cherish? Sport classes, nice food, excellent. So basic food is a right, but nice food is a privilege. And sometimes if you choose not to follow instruction, then you choose to lose a privilege. For example, if you told your child to cook something with you and they chose to ignore your instruction, then they choose to not have the privilege of enjoying the nice food with everybody else. No picnic, excellent. And also for kids, remember, a big privilege is to be able to play with their things, with their toys, with their siblings, with their friends. So being able to play. So if the children are really, really defiant, then you can actually remove the privilege of them being able to go outside and play, for example, if you have a back garden, or them being able to play with their toys. So essentially, until they agree to do the consequence, you can take away their privilege and say, okay, since you've not chosen to do the consequence, now you've chosen the privilege. You're not going to present it as something that happened to them. You're going to present it as a choice. They themselves are choosing it. They either choose to do the responsibilities or they choose to let go of the privilege. Now, ladies, this is how real world works anyway. There's no way in the world you can enjoy all the benefits without taking the responsibility, without doing the hard work. For example, if you really, really want to eat pizza, unless you have prepared it yourself with the hard work, you're not going to be able to enjoy that privilege. Or if you've not worked hard to earn enough to afford that pizza, you're not going to be able to enjoy the privilege. This is simple as that. If you don't pay the electricity bill, you're not going to be able to enjoy electricity. Simple as that. So in real life, if you don't do the hard work, you're not going to enjoy the benefits that come with it. So taking away their privileges is not cruel. It is realistic. Yes. Does the loss of privilege have to be mentioned in the meeting even for kids under 5? Yes, my dear sister. Do mention the loss of privilege, even if you think that they might forget it. It is okay. Just sit with them and explain to them. Then it is going to click when it's happening in real time. And it's not going to feel unfair to them, especially if you use the empowering language. What is the empowering language? You're going to use the language, you chose to ignore my command, my instruction. So you chose the consequence, which is you're going to lose the privilege. So they know that the choice is theirs. So now if they don't like this, they can choose to follow the command, right? It is empowering. Ladies, I've put this for you so you can read it in your own time, inshallah. I will share this slide in my empowering in Mother's group, inshallah. You guys can read it on your own. So what the things that you want to say and do and the things that you want to avoid. So when you give a command, don't say, do it because I said so, because that's controlling. That doesn't teach responsibility. That doesn't teach accountability. That breeds defiance. Instead, what you can say though is, the rule is that you need to follow the instruction, or the rule is that you, when I give you a command, that this is what you need to do. And here's your responsibility. You know what to do. So, or for example, the rule is that everybody needs to help with the household chores. Everybody needs to do their part. And once everybody is eaten, the rule is they wash their own dishes. That's the rule in this house. And now you know what to do. So it's principle based, it's predictable. So like that, you can see if the consequence you're giving is just, it is good, it's going to teach accountability, or is it going to be controlling and bad for them? So look at the long-term outcome. For control-based parenting, they will learn the external obedience, and they will obey only when the parent is watching. When the parent is not watching, they're going to do sneaky behaviors. But if you do the accountability-based parenting, then you're teaching them self-discipline, and the child starts linking the choices to natural results, which is what we want. We want them to be self-disciplined. All right, now sisters, these are the skills that we expect to come naturally to our children, but they don't. The first skill is a cause and effect. Children don't automatically know the cause and effect. And we touched on that when we talked about trust. So, for example, if your child chooses to lie, then you tell them, you chose to not tell me exactly what happened. You chose to hide it. Now, what that does is, the effect of that is that next time you're going to tell me something really important, I might not be able to believe it immediately. And if you want mama to keep believing you immediately with everything you say, you need to make sure that you tell me exactly what happened. You need to teach them cause and effect, ladies. So it's the same with the cause and effect of not following the instruction, for example. So you chose not to follow the instruction, therefore you chose the consequence. This is cause and effect. Everything in life works like that. So everything has cause and effect. So this is a very important skill for them to know, that in everyday life, whatever they do, whatever choices they make, has an effect. For example, if they choose to do their chores, then the effect of that, they have more time to go play with whatever they want to play. They have more freedom. So if they quickly do what they need to do, then the rest of the time they can do whatever they want to do. So they get to enjoy their life. So teaching them cause and effect. Another skill is following instructions the first time. Ladies, so many times parents tell me that, I keep repeating the same thing to my child. Even if I repeat it 100 times, they wouldn't do it. Oh my God. If you have to repeat something to your child, that results in you yelling. Because if your child follows the instruction first time, then there's no need for you to yell. But if you have to repeat it 5 or 10 times, it really increases your likelihood of yelling. So now, how do they follow instruction? I told you the 3 steps. You're going to teach your children. The three steps is, you say, okay, mama, acknowledge that they've heard, quickly do it. So if they delay doing it, if they don't get up, if they keep playing or whatever, they say, okay, but they still, stay playing, then you can tell them again, okay, so here are the steps to following instruction. You need to say, okay, mama, you have to quickly get up and do it. And they have to come and tell me if you've done it. And right now, I gave you the instruction, and you chose to do the first step, but you chose not to do the second step, which is to quickly get up and do it. So what that means is that you have chosen a consequence. It could be, so for something simple as that, the consequence should be very simple. For example, the consequence could be that just to like pick up a Lego piece from the floor and put it in its container. So the consequence needs to match the level of mess up, right? Okay. Another skill they need to learn, and parents think that they come naturally, and they don't come naturally, and it is accepting negative responses. A lot of time in our life, we hear rejection, we hear no, we hear criticism, and your child should be able to take it. Many times what happens is if a child hears no, they start tantruming. For example, if their friend doesn't want to share their toy with them, oh my gosh, your child cannot handle that. Then that means that your child lacks the skill of accepting a negative response. And that child, if they don't learn the skill, they grow up and they have a rejection from job, for example, they're not accepted in a job that they apply to, they're not going to be able to handle it then as well. So then they might just give up, right? So we don't want that. We want our children, we want to teach them skills. So the steps to accepting negative response. You say that, you tell them, okay, these are the 3 steps, first, or actually 4 steps. First step, when you hear a no, you keep calm face, voice, and body. And you either say okay, or you bring up another option. You bring up another choice. For example, if your brother doesn't want to share his toy, you keep calm face, voice, and body. You either say okay and go play with something else, or you counter it. You counter offer. You say, all right, if you give me your toy, I will give you my toy. So they're learning real valuable life skills here. They're learning to negotiate. They're learning to accept a negative response calmly. It is okay. It's part of life. Imagine the power they're going to have. Imagine how empowered they would be if they're able to accept the negative response. And they don't feel rejected. They keep calm face and voice and body, and they either say okay or bring a counter argument or bring a counter offer. And the third step to it is to let it go. So if they've kept trying and it didn't work, then they just let it go in their brain and they stop talking about it. And how does that look like? That looks like the child is not going to keep pestering you. For example, if you told them that they're not allowed to go in the park today, so they're not going to keep pestering you, bringing up the subject again and again and again, and wearing you down until you say yes. You don't want that. You want them to have the skill to accept the no. Okay, it's a no for now. Inshallah, we will do it later. But then your child keeps pestering you. So you teach them the skills to accept no. So that the skill is, so that the 3 steps again is the first step is the keep calm face, voice and body. They either say okay, bring a counter offer, and then the third step is to let it go in their brain. Don't think about it. Move on to something else, and let it go. And stop talking about it, basically. So these are the 3 steps. Sisters, did you get it? If anybody can write those steps down here, it'll be really good for other sisters. We've covered a lot so far, and we still have more skills to go. I will inshallah try to keep it light because I'm aware of the time. But let me know if you're enjoying it so far. If you have any questions, if anything is resonating with you, let me know. All right, I am waiting for a sister to write down what are the steps to accepting a negative response. How can you teach your child to accept a negative response? MashaAllah, barakallahu fiki. A sister already wrote calm body, voice, and face as well. And why do I say all these three things? Because if they don't have the calm voice, they're going to start whining and yelling. And if they don't have calm body, they might start flailing. So that's sometimes like passive aggressive. You know, sometimes kids just lie down and start kicking and throwing their arms away, arms in the air, even if they're not yelling. So that is also calm face, body, voice and body, and then face, calm face. Why calm face? Because they can choose to smirk about it. When you give them an instruction, they can choose to make a funny face to you disrespectfully, or they can choose to roll their eyes. So that's keeping calm face. Do you see how that all works? Calm face, voice, and body to show them that that's a skill for accepting a no answer. Then either negotiate and offer options or say okay. And then the third is to get over it. Yes. Get over it, yeah, or letting it go. Letting it go is much more appropriate because, yeah, so they can choose to let it go in their head and stop speaking about it and bring it up. All right. Okay, barakallahu feekum. You guys got it. Allahumma barik. Another skill that parents think comes naturally, but really doesn't, then you have to teach them, is taking ownership of their behavior and accepting the consequence and correction. And a lot of things that you've mentioned from before, the skills before, they still apply here. So, for example, if they're being offered a correction, then all right, I really don't want to go into much details of that, but just know that this is another skill that doesn't come naturally. So if your child is struggling with accepting the consequence, or with so whenever you offer correction to your child and they start refuting you and telling you no, that didn't happen, even though you totally saw that it happen, you can teach them some of the same skills. Well, you can make up your own steps as well. You don't really have to copy my steps. So you can say something like, when I offer you correction, you seek to understand, for example. And that looks like listening, looking at mama and listening, and wait till I'm done. And listening with a yes in your mind, or with an open mind, not listening with a no, right? So then sometimes they're just listening. They're shaking your head. They're shaking their head at the same time. No, that didn't happen. No, that didn't happen. So that's not really listening. So you can customize it based on your child, make up your own steps, but just know that it is a skill that needs to be taught, that they don't really know how to accept consequences. They don't really know that not all children have the courage, or not all have the skill to accept a correction. Another thing is, and this is an amazing skill that gives them a lot of courage and gives them a voice, basically, and they love that. And that is disagreeing respectfully. So whenever you give your children an instruction, they can follow the steps of the steps to following instruction is saying okay, quickly going and do it. And the third thing is coming back and saying they've done it and get the praise for it. But then sometimes they can choose to disagree respectfully with your instruction. So for example, if you've given your child to do the instruction, okay, let me just tell you the real life example of my children to make it more apparent. Something happened with one of my children where I gave them instruction and they didn't do it. Yes. So it was one of my children, I remember now. So he was sitting and he was doing an activity, and he was almost done with the activity, almost done. It was like a game. And I wanted my child to do something, and I told him, listen, I'm going to give you an instruction. Do you remember the steps to the instruction? He said, yeah, he repeated the steps to the instruction. I said, okay, please, I give you that instruction now, please go do it. And he didn't get up. He didn't want to do it. And I was about to give him consequence. But all of a sudden he said, Mama, I just need to finish this. Please, I just need to finish this. So I told him, wonderful. What you just did is you disagreed respectfully. That you could just say, Mama, I just want to disagree respectfully. I gave him words. If they want to counter, if they have a valid reason not to follow the instruction, you give them a voice. You give them the skill of speaking up. So they don't have to be robots to listen to every single instruction given by any grown-up. No. They should be able to disagree respectfully, and imagine the empowerment they feel if they are able to voice their opinions respectfully. So teach them the skill of disagreeing respectfully. And how does it look like? Disagreeing respectfully, saying, I want to disagree respectfully, and just mentioning what they want to say, what they want, what objection they have. And it could be really valid objection, and it could be not valid objection. For example, your child might say, I don't want to do it because I just want to play. I mean, that's not a valid objection. So then you're going to give them a negative response. Then they're going to apply the skill of accepting the negative response. What is the skill of accepting the negative? What are the steps to accept a negative response? You tell them, I heard you. You want to keep playing, but right now the response is no. And do you know the steps to accept the negative response? Either you tell them or they tell you. All right. So disagreeing respectfully is a very empowering skill. Then letting the matter go. We talked about it. How do you let the matter go? Is to how do you let it go? You say okay, you let it go in your mind and you start talking about it and you move on to something else. Another very important skill that your children, if they learn, is going to serve them really well in life is waiting. It doesn't come naturally, and a child of 2, 3 years old cannot wait. I mean, it's not age appropriate. But once it's age appropriate, like from 3, 4 years old, you want to start introducing the concept of waiting, that delayed gratification, that sometimes in life they just have to wait. Sometimes in life, for example, with my kids, they all started asking this, whatever they wanted to ask. One wanted a story, one of them wanted water, one of them wanted this, one of them wanted that. So I told them, this is how I introduced the concept of waiting. I said, there is one mama, and I only have two hands, and I can only attend to one child at one time. And that means, even though I really want to listen to all of you and quickly do everything that you want from me, but I can't do it because I'm only one person. So I'm going to listen to all of you one by one, and the others are going to have to wait. And you just tell them, how does waiting look like? You're just going to wait respectfully, just sit there, or they can completely, when they're waiting, they can choose to do something else. They can choose to play and then circle back to it. Come back to again when mama feels free, when mama doesn't have anything to do. You can come and talk about it again. So then I reassured them, and then I attended to one by one, and I praised the others for waiting. So teaching them how to wait doesn't come naturally, and it doesn't come naturally to be grateful. You have to teach them those skills. And another skill is, oh my gosh, this is such a crucial skill, and that is following what's right, even when it's hard. Ladies, so many of you ask me questions and they say, my child just doesn't do it. They don't want to do it. In my house, I keep telling them, I know you don't want to, and that's okay. But we don't make decisions based on what we want. We make decisions based on what's right. This is going to set them up for success in life. Sometimes they're not going to want to do their hifz. They're not going to want to revise their Quran. And that's okay. They're allowed to have those feelings. However, we're not going to act on the feelings. We acknowledge them, and then we choose to do the right thing anyway. How powerful is that? Ladies, if we are able to teach our children only this one skill, following what's right, even if it's hard, imagine the kind of responsible adults that we're going to raise, who are going to be responsible mothers, who are going to be responsible parents and responsible husbands and wives. It is really powerful for yourself and for your children. All right. Inshallah, we are nearing to the end, inshallah, and I want to remind you all, and mashallah, I've seen that a lot of you have stayed till the very end, and I want to remind you that inshallah, for those who listen to the whole video, there's going to be a gift announcement towards the end, inshallah. For one of them, I was going to earn a gift, inshallah. Right. Empowering language. We talked about it. So you use it for yourself, ladies. Take ownership of your action, and you teach your children to take ownership. So, for example, if you say, oh, this is what happened, and then I snapped. then I yelled because this is what happened. No, you change your language. You say, this is what happened, and then I chose to yell. Once you phrase it like that, then it empowers you to think, okay, I did choose to yell this time, but can I choose something else next time? Or was it, or there was a choice to do something else as well? You really take ownership and you really start thinking of other options. Okay, why am I choosing to yell at this time? I know that my child is having a hard time. Why am I choosing to yell though? What else can I choose? So empowering language. Another thing is sometimes we use helpless language like I couldn't control myself. No, I chose to act on my impulses. Or then I can't stop thinking about his toilet accident. For example, your child, you told them dozens of times, hundreds of times, you had practice with them to do their wee wee in the toilet, for example, and they chose to do it, or it just came out. They couldn't control their bladder, and it just came out. You feel really frustrated. We've practiced this dozens of times. Why can't he just go to the toilet when he needs to? So then you are upset about that and you're cleaning it. You're continuously being upset about that. So instead of saying, oh, I can't stop thinking about what he did, you can just say, I'm choosing to think about the toilet incident repeatedly. So then I can also choose to let go. Okay, it happened. I let go it in my brain. I stop thinking about it and I move on. Wouldn't life be much easier if we were all took more ownership of how we feel and what we do? Right. All right. So then there's only one more skill that I'm going to teach you, but it's a really powerful skill, and it's the use the power of praise. And now this is a little bit of sneak peek of my course, Defiant to Compliant. I choose lots more tools in there, and one of the tools is how to use praise properly. Let me show you. So, and this is effective, especially with younger kids, but it's also effective with older ones. Now, one of the worksheets I give out is a lot of practice. So acknowledging positive behavior. For example, brainstorm words you use to praise your child to increase behaviors you want to see more of. So for example, I want to see what are the behaviors that you want to see more of. For example, you want to see your child practicing letters on their own. So what praise statement can you use to encourage that, to encourage more of that? It is, I saw you practicing your letters. You're getting better every time, right? Also, like problem solving, you want to see more of. So then you have to catch them in the act of doing it. You have to catch them. You have to really make an effort to notice the positive behaviors that you want to see. So what helps is making this list. So the list of, ladies, this is a cheat sheet for you. So you can make this sheet for yourself. What you can do is write on one side, I want to see more of. Write all the behaviors that you want to see more of. So you want to see more of problem solving, for example. Then you can teach your child, you kept trying different ways to fit that piece on the puzzle. That's a great way to solve problems. Or you were fighting, instead of fighting with your brother, you gave him another toy as a bargain. What a great problem solving. So what else you want to see? You want to see more of them helping out. So any teeniest thing they do, even with not with the intention of helping, is just like, okay, they saw something on the floor, they picked it up. You notice it immediately. Oh, you are such a great helper. You keep the house tidy. Or yeah, so notice that and praise that. So whatever behavior you want to see more of, make a praise statement and use it. Another way to use praise, there actually you can use the positive opposites, or you can use the proximal praise. So very good for behaviors you want to see less of. For example, the behavior you want to see less of is yelling, right? So then the positive opposite would be speaking politely. So then you ignore the yelling, rather you focus all your focus on the praising the positive. So you catch them in the act of not yelling, right? You catch them in the act of not yelling and you say, well done for speaking politely. I love how you sound. You sound so calm. So you acknowledge that and you praise that. So praise the positive opposite of the behavior you don't want to see. Another thing is proximal praise. Now, ladies, there's a word of caution for this praise, and it's not to use it when there's friction, when it invites sibling rivalry. It is generally better to use it in a big group of people where children don't take things personally. For example, in a classroom where there are 20 kids, for example, then it's very good to use that praise. And it is, for example, you want to see all of them sitting nicely, right? So then, because you want to start the lesson, you want them to sit quietly. So you can praise one child that is almost sitting nicely, right? You're going to say, well done for being attentive and sitting quietly so I can begin my lesson. And you are going to notice that immediately 10 more students are sitting nicely. So then you're going to say, oh, well done. Look at you. You guys are so well behaved. Almost all of you are sitting nicely. So then, they're not going to take it personally. They're going to, all of them, sit nicely, wait for you patiently. However, sometimes I will also show you how not to use it. So, for example, if you have already told one of the siblings, you don't keep your room tidy, or like there is some friction on that. You told them your room is always messy. So then, don't use proximal praise then, because then definitely praising the other sibling is going to call rivalry. So then don't tell the other one, oh, I love how you keep your room clean. That's going to invite jealousy, right? So that's not going to be effective. So if you see any of your children taking things personally, or feeling like the praise is actually a put down of them, then don't use the proximal praise. So then you can use the positive opposite, where you can say, oh, well done, I saw how you put your pillow back today. Even though they didn't make their whole bed, but you chose to ignore that, and you chose to focus on what they actually did, was their pillow was on the bed. So well done for your keeping your pillow on the bed. Well, this is how you use praise to correct their behavior. All right, a sister is asking, can we use this agreement respectfully that I tell my husband? Right, because he often says, if I disagree, I am disrespectful as well. Yes, it is a life skill. That's what I'm saying. These are all life skills. They're going to serve you in every area of life, not just for kids. It's very good. These are very good skills for adults as well. So if your husband feels like whenever you disagree, you're doing it disrespectfully, then do use these words. You say that I would love to disagree respectfully. And remember to keep your face, voice, and body calm. Anything could be taken as disrespect. So keep your face, voice, and body calm, and voice your opinion. This is my opinion. This is what I feel. Even though I completely accept your position. Or actually, don't say disagree properly. You can also say, I have a different opinion. And this is my opinion. Yeah, just voice your opinion. This is what I think. But also, no, sister, that's different with husband. Because then, in the end, as ultimate sign of respect, even if you disagree with him, it is a good idea to accept his leadership, his authority, and say, even though I have a different opinion, I am going to choose to do what you ask me to do. I'm going to do what you ask me to do because I respect you, or because I respect your role as a leader. All right, so we got sidetracked a little bit. I showed you how to use praise as a powerful tool in tarbiyah. Ladies, in my course, Define Compliant, I also tell you all the ways of praise that are detrimental, that you don't want to do. This was just a taster, a sneak peek, and if you want to join, I have offers for you towards the end of this video, inshallah. Right. Right. Okay. So your child's failure does it mean it's your failure, sisters? Say yes or no. Is your child's failure equivalent to your failing as a parent because you couldn't teach them properly? No. but we feel like a failure. Yes, barakallahu fiki. I want to address exactly that feeling that you said, but we feel like a failure. Sisters, if you take your child's failures personally, you are more likely to react rather than teach. Versus if a parent takes their child's failures as their own failures, as a lack of skill, what are they going to do? They're going to want to teach the child. So then, ladies, many of you carry this weight around that our children are clean slate. Our children don't like we shape them and we mold them, and that's not true. They come with their own personalities. They come with their own characteristics, ladies. It is just like you planting a seed. If you plant the seed, every seed is going to grow up into what it is meant to be. So an apple tree, it cannot become a mango tree, no matter how hard you try. So your child is going to grow up what they're meant to be. They're not going to grow up how you want them to be. You can't control anybody. All you can do is provide the right education, the right environment, the right teaching, and the results are in Allah's hands. They're inshallah going to grow up what they're meant to be. And inshallah, we are going to influence them. We're going to influence their thoughts. We're going to we can indeed we teach them Islam. This is our responsibility. We have to take a full ownership of teaching them Islam, because Prophet ﷺ says that كل مولود يولد على الفطرة, that everybody is born on fitrah. فأبواه يهودانه أو يمجسانه أو ينصرانه أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then their parents turn them into a fire worshipper or a Jew or Christian. So the religion is completely your responsibility. You're going to start teaching them since they're very tiny about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But everything else, their characteristics, their personality quirks, their, like, for example, autism, you can't control those things. They're going to grow up what they're meant to be. So don't carry this heavy burden that you are the one responsible to shape your child. No, you're not. You are only a teacher and educator. Ladies, mothers, if you remember your role is as a teacher, then whatever failures you see in your child, you're going to take them as an opportunity to equip them with skills and teach them, not to be upset about it. Right. All right, I've got 2 questions from my students from the Defined to Compliant course, and I'm going to answer them first. And inshallah, you're going to have a lot of benefit from that, inshallah. The first question I got was, my 6-year-old doesn't listen to a single instruction, even if we ask him nicely. He is very cheeky in nature and always wants attention and control. We do give him options and choices he can make, but he still struggles to listen to us 99% of the time. He also struggles to take decisions, as he will say no by default without thinking and then changes his mind all of a sudden. So we get confused what he actually wants. And he doesn't take anything seriously and laughs everything off. It seems like to him anything can be a tense situation, even when someone asks something simple from him. Now, ladies, it's a 6-year-old child. And I'm going to talk about the skills in a minute. But first of all, from the feel of this question, the child is defaulting to say no. Is not always defiance. Sometimes it is hesitation. Sometimes it's feeling insecure that if I say yes, is it safe? Like, is it safe for me to say yes? So you see your child giving you no answer by default, and then later changing it to yes, is them analyzing internally if it is safe for me to say yes. So that is a child who doesn't feel very secure in his responses, that is afraid of reactions. Now, he's very cheeky and it always wants attention. and control. Now, I see it as wanting attention, as wanting connection, more connection. And this is also evident by the next part of your question, that he's defaulting to no. The thing is, the more you give him connection, inshallah, the more secure he's going to start feeling. And ladies, the thing is, with this child, inshallah, for the mother, I'm going to say that before you give him an instruction, touch his hand gently, or like pat his back, or smile at him, or look at him in a loving way, an accepting way, eye contact, all of these things. Connect first, and then give your instruction. And inshallah, and also I want to say about this over here, that he laughs everything off. Now, laughing and not taking seriously, sometimes our children cover the uneasiness with humor. So they want to make light of the situation because they feel so nervous and scared and intense inside. And if the mother wants to contribute to anything I'm saying, please feel free. Does that really describe your child? That is he like a nervous person? So sometimes they just use humor to diffuse the situation, to make themselves feel better when they're not feeling as secure and calm. So this could be that you just need to give him more attention, more connection, and inshallah, you're going to start seeing this improve. And with saying no as a default, you can rehearse this beforehand. So how can you rehearse this beforehand? What you can do is then play games with him. Play games with him. How? For example, say that my hands are behind my back. You can, and they both have a treat. You can choose whatever you want. You want right hand? Yes or no? And then you want left hand? Yes or no? So then that way, in a fun way, if you keep practicing yes or no in a fun way. All right, we are walking in the house. Would you like us to go left or right? So in a fun way, give him lots of practice of making a decision, right? Once once he starts feeling more secure, more safe, inshallah, this is going to start reducing. And also, sisters, who can tell me what are the skills from what we learned that the sister can teach her child? Is there actually no sound? Can you still hear me, sisters? Okay, you can hear me. All right. So what skills can she teach her children? What skills can she teach her child? Well done. The cause and effect. She can talk about the cause and effect. She can also practice following instruction with her child. And my sister, maybe the child is being given too many options. Sometimes that also overwhelms the child. So keep the options simple. If you feel like he's really struggling with choices, then reduce the choices or don't give him any. Give more instructions, right? See how it goes, inshallah. All right, the next question is this one. Now, here you guys can get a lot of practice of telling me the skills that mother can teach. She said, and this is the last question, inshallah. She said, my 11 years old, starting secondary, and he loves ignoring me. Anything I ask him, he smiles in my face until I lose it and I start shouting. Then my 7 years old whines for everything, very annoyingly, like a girl, with a loud, squeaky voice, which is like half crying, half whining. And she said, he's always putting his older brother into trouble. His older brother is not always innocent, but when he is, it makes my 11-year-old hate my 7 years old. Even if I ask him to do something, he treats me like a sibling nagging him. It feels like almost as if he has no character, and we always try to tell him to be like a rajul and a batal. That is like be a man and be brave. And don't get overly emotional for everything. All right, sisters, who can tell me the skills this mother can teach her children? Barakallahu fikum. The cause and effect, sisters are saying. And she can also use consequences. Right. Consequences for what exactly? For shouting or ignoring, yes, I mean that, yeah, consequences can be used as well. Also for getting his brother in trouble. How to accept no, well done. To listen and to act. Well done. Now let's take it one by one. Yeah, so for the issue of 11-year-old who loves ignoring, he does need consequence. He needs a proper structure that's agreed upon before. You can use loss of privilege as well as a last resort. But before that, remember the connection, the structure, and then consequences. This needs to be in place. And ignoring the mother, he needs to learn how to follow instructions. And yes, so then if the mother is not having to keep repeating the instructions, if the mother knows that she can go strategically from instruction to consequence, from the connection, instruction, and consequence, if mother follows these steps, then she's going to feel in control. She's not going to lose it. She's not going to start shouting because she has the structure in place. And like we said, the more times she has to repeat the instruction, the more likely she is to yell and get upset and lose it. So it's really good, really important to teach our children to follow the instruction first time. And then she said that my 7 years old whines for everything, very annoyingly like a girl. Now, sister, when you said very annoyingly like a girl, it immediately told me that you are using language that is embarrassing for your child. And you can never embarrass or shame anybody to behave better. Never. Embarrassment and shame are not the motivating or driving force for somebody to change their behavior. All they do is to put a person down and make them lose the motivation to do anything. So if you're using that kind of language, sister, I urge you to use an empowering language, more empowering language. Inshallah, teach the tools I've taught in this lesson, inshallah. Right. For the squeaky voice and half yelling, half whining, I have discussed this in my course. Is the tool of redoing. The redo. The redo is you can describe what happened, how did the child react, okay, what the situation that happened, how did the child react, and what they should have done instead. And then you invite them to redo it. Okay, show me now what's the proper way to act. Or can you or for example, if they're whining about not having water and they're so thirsty, you can always tell them, let's have a redo. Now keep your calm face, voice, and body and tell me what you want. And then say, all right, there you go, have your water, problem solved. But this is how you teach them. Redo is a very good skill as well. And for this one, always putting his brother in trouble, this is sibling rivalry. And ladies, for that, I'm going to inshallah link the session under this video. You're going to watch this session, inshallah, is going to tell you how to like treat sibling rivalry from its roots, inshallah. But essentially, anytime he is trying to rat his brother out, anytime he's trying to get his brother in trouble, anytime he comes to complain about his brother, always ask him, are you telling me this to help him, to help your brother, or to get him in trouble? So he might say that, okay, my brother is wasting time. Okay, are you telling me to help your brother or to get him in trouble? Oh, I am telling you to help. No, you're not. You actually want me to go and get him in trouble, because if you want to help him, you might have, talked to him directly. And I've seen that this is a very good solution to anything. Like, for example, they come to you and they tell you, oh, my younger brother is eating all the candies from the jar. Are you telling me this because you want to help your brother, or you want to get him in trouble? So then they analyze it. They actually want to get them in trouble, because if they wanted to help the brother, it would be for something like the brother got hurt. Oh, my brother got hurt. The blood is coming out. Then they come to you because they want to help the brother. The brother is in trouble, or the brother is stuck somewhere, needs help, or so these are the helpful ways of making them think about the situation. All right, now, right, he treats me like a sibling, nagging him anytime I tell him to do something. Here, you can teach him to disagree respectfully. And then he keeps nagging and whining. You can also teach him to let go, right? Let go in his mind and in his and stop talking about it. So then when you teach him to let go, inshallah, he's not gonna be overly emotional for everything. All right, inshallah. So this about sums it up. Now, my gift to you. Thank you so much for all of you for staying here. And if you stayed here so far, I would like you to type 1 under my YouTube video, and inshallah after this session I will contact you for your gift, inshallah. So under the YouTube, please type number 1. If you type number 1 in Zoom, I'm sorry, I might not be able to contact you, because once the session is over, everything goes. So I will not have any way to contact you. Let me just try and quickly see if I can post a Zoom link here. Sorry, a YouTube link here. Let me see if I can do that. I might be able to do that. And if not, can anybody else post the YouTube link? I've posted it in the group. All right. Yes, number 1. Whoever types number 1 now, then at the end of the video, that inshallah, once I close it, I'm going to contact them, inshallah, for their gift. And also, a random gift for one of the YouTube members, inshallah, whoever comments in my YouTube video, I will select randomly one person by the draw method, and I will inshallah tell them, and I will inshallah give them the access to my Define to Compliant course free, completely free of cost, not even a single penny. And in that, you're going to have the videos and the workshops, and you're going to have tool cards, worksheets. So you're going to have a lot of things, inshallah, at your disposal. And one person from you as a thank you for staying, or as a motivation for staying, for learning, inshallah, you're going to have Define to Compliant course free of cost. And for the rest of you, if you don't get chosen to have a completely free Define to Compliant course or the other gift, then I will give you 50% off. If you sign up to Define to Compliant course right after this video, then you can have 50% off of my course Define to Compliant. So then I'm going to tell you the code now. Of course, nobody else will know if they did not listen to this far. And the code is half price, and all caps. All caps, use half price, and inshallah, you are going to have 50% off from your course. And there is also an option available to pay in installments. Alhamdulillah, I've had many students who are paying me in installments. Alhamdulillah, I have easy installments. So anybody, whatever you're able to pay per month, we can agree on, and then you can continue paying and benefiting at the same time. So these are all my gifts to you. Barakallahu feekum for staying. And I'm going to quickly see if there's any questions here. Oh, barakallahu fiki for the YouTube video link. Right. All right, a sister said, is there any recording for this session? I want to listen to this again. Yes, sister. So a sister has posted a link for YouTube. If you go on YouTube, inshallah, you're going to find the session there. You can listen to it all over again. Barakallahu feekum. Any other questions, sisters? If you have any questions on YouTube or on Zoom, please tell me the question now. Right. Sister asked, where can we get access to the course, please? The course access is in the description of the video. All right. If there are no more questions now, then we are going to end this call. Barakallahu feekum for joining. And subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.